Hello everyone, it is April. Today I'm here to share with you 13 books that have unbelievable endings. Let's get into it. We are creeping closer to 15,000 subscribers on this channel. And I am doing a $150 Amazon gift card giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video, and like this video. Stick around until the end of this video and I'm going to get into more detail about the giveaway itself and how you can win. So I've split the books up into 3 categories. The first category are just straight up endings that will make your jaw drop, where they are like packed a huge punch and you want more from the book. Either it ends on a crazy cliffhanger or it ends and it explains so much and you're just like, what? Oh, I'm so good at explaining things. The first is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book follows Evelyn Hugo, who is an actress in the 50s, and she is moving up the ladder in Hollywood as a woman, which is very hard. She is ruthless. She will do anything to do that. And we follow her when she's an older woman, and she has decided to finally tell her story. And she chooses a journalist who's like very much a newbie to the industry. And she chooses her and she tells her story to this woman. And she's like, I'm only going to tell you. If you don't say yes, I'm not going to, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tell my story. I will go to the grave with my story. And so you learn about her and her love life and her career. I really enjoyed it. The end, I was like, what are you... that is a huge twisty doodah at the end. I really enjoyed the whole reading experience of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Next is a book that I have talked about a million times on my channel. If you haven't read it yet, I mean, are we even friends? It's Tangerine by Christine Mangan. Christine Mangan is a beautiful writer of Gothic literature, and this follows a woman living again in the 50s, 1956, in Tangier. She has moved there with her husband, and one day her old college roommate just shows up out of nowhere at her door. And they ended their relationship in a very strange way. It wasn't the best parting. And suddenly she has to host her in her home, and she's very uncomfortable with this relationship. And it's this tension between these two women and watching the tensions rise. And the ending, I honestly had to reread the last few lines a couple of times. The epilogue, I was just like, no, surely not. Surely that's not happening. Really loved it. Another book that literally shot up from, I think I was going to give it 4 stars, and then the end happened and I gave it 5 stars. This was The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor. This is heavily inspired by Stephen King's It. I will tell you that. I find some of C.J. Tudor's works are very heavily inspired by King. So if you like King, you should definitely check her out. So The Chalk Man follows a group of kids. In the summer, they draw little chalk men at the end of each other's driveway to say, today we're going to the park. Today we're doing this or that, the other. And one day they all get these little chalk men messages that say, go to the park. And they go and they find a dismembered body. Not exactly what they were expecting. And it's about finding out who the murderer in their midst is. Who was the person who did all of these heinous ideas, and it's their relationships with these adults in their life and the concept of authority and challenging that to a certain extent, but also respecting it. And I really loved it. And again, the end just shocked me. It shocked me so much. Oh my gosh. The next book is The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. I've read this twice, and I think there was so much time that lapsed in between the two that the ending shocked me twice. I actually had forgotten the ending, and I reread this past summer. Just enjoyed it. This is a ghost story where we follow a man who is going to a very old home called Eel Marsh House to settle the affairs of a woman who has passed away. And he's there going through, and mist sets in and he really can't go anywhere. He is able to escape the house, but he has to come back because this is his job. And there's a ghost there. There's a ghost. And I was surprised and kind of grossed out by the end, if I'm being honest. Made me feel a little bit ill. I love this book, one of my favorite horror books of all time. And last but not least, for the books that just shocked the heck out of me, was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Gillian Flynn, when I read this, it was my second Gillian that I'd read. I'd read Gone Girl, then I read this, and this solidified in my mind that she was just a master at the thriller genre, and I love her, and this was her debut. So this follows a young woman who's a journalist. Sorry if you can hear a truck outside. Anyway, this follows a journalist who is going back to her hometown very reluctantly. She has a really awkward relationship with her mom. She has a lot of, traumatic stuff that happened to her as a kid. And it's not a good relationship. It's not a good scene. But she has to go back because her hometown is being plagued by murders. Someone is taking little girls, murdering them, and they're choking them and taking out all of their teeth. So she goes home and she's trying to sort out who's doing this, and she's reporting on it. And then she's also dealing with her mom, and her mom had remarried and she has like a half sister, and she's trying to get to know the family, but also just wanting to get the heck out. And the ending, oh my Lord, I love this book so much. Okay, let's move on to some books that are honestly sad books in general, but the ending of all of these sad books will just make you sob. Okay. The first is The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. Oh my goodness, what a gorgeous book this is. This takes place over the span of 3 days. We meet a nurse who is taking care of several pregnant women on a maternity ward during the Great Flu of 1918, I want to say. It takes place in Ireland, and you follow her taking care of all of these patients who are having children, who are giving birth. And I will say, not everyone comes out okay, because the flu greatly influenced pregnant women. It made them, have babies early. There's just so much that it influenced. And this follows her. It also follows a woman who just comes to volunteer, thank goodness, because Nurse Power, I think her name was, is completely on her own, taking care of all of these people, trying to sterilize things. And it was so amazing to read the detail that, Emma Donoghue did her research, learning about how people lived at this time and how people worked in the medical profession of the time. It was so good. The ending shocked me and really made me sad. I was sad throughout the whole thing. But the ending, I was just like, cancel my plans that I don't have. I need to weep. Similarly, the exact same thing happened to me with The Nickel Boys. I think this, out of all of the books that I'm going to talk about, was like a gut punch for me, though. The Nickel Boys follows Elwood, who is this wonderful Black boy living in the 60s. He is horribly accused of doing a crime by police that he did not do, and he goes to a place called the Nickel Academy, which really isn't an academy. They just call it that to make themselves feel better. And the Nickel Academy is filled with all sorts of abuses. Any abuse that you could imagine is happening at the Nickel Academy. And Elwood is just trying to get by because a lot of abuse is happening, and not everyone goes home at the Nickel Academy, and they'll just write to the parents and say, sorry, he ran away, when he didn't. Like, bad stuff is going on at the Nickel Academy. And you follow him, and you follow him meeting friends and just trying to, you know, do his time and get out. And he had, you know, he has dreams of his own that he wants to accomplish. And this is huge, like, thrown an enormous wrench. He doesn't even know if those dreams are even possible anymore. And the end, what literally was a sucker punch. Literal sucker punch. My goodness. And then this one I did cry for. You know when you finish a book and then you just cry for minutes and minutes and you're like, I really want to be alone right now because I need to get this out of my system. That's what happened with me when I read The Book Thief. I actually listened to this on audio, and it's so good on audio. The Book Thief follows a little girl who lives in Germany during World War II. She doesn't have family anymore, so she goes to stay with a husband and wife who take her in, and they're wonderful. Now, she is dealing with a lot of trauma. She's dealing with living in a country that she doesn't align with its values. Luckily, she lives with, you know, these people who also feel the same way, and she can lean on them, but she does have a tendency to steal books, and she does this at certain big, huge moments in her life, and books bring her solace. She brings books to various areas in this book, and they bring solace to others. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. I really, really loved it. And the end broke me, and I just collapsed into tears. So good. Last but not least, you know, I'm not sure, it's been a while since I read Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. So this follows a group of students who go to school. They all go to school very young. Like, they didn't have a normal childhood in any way, shape, or form. This is what happens in this world. It's a bit of a dystopian world. And we follow their interactions, and we follow them in the past when they're at school, and then in the future when they have left the school. And there is an enormous twist in here that it's a very sad, like, kind of solemn sort of book in my mind. I really enjoyed it. Now, I don't know whether the twist happens at the very end or somewhere close to the end. But either way, it just makes you more sad. It does, but so beautiful. I really need to read more by him. Okay, so the last little category that I have for you are books with endings that make you want to reread the whole book because you're going to read it completely differently. Like, the ending brings something to the book that changes the book. And what was really going on. You were reading one book at the beginning, you get to the end and you're like, what did I just read? The first is a book I just finished fairly recently. This is The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. So this book is out in the UK. I got this on Book Depository because it's not coming out in Canada or the US until September. So this book takes place on a house at the end of a lane on Needless Street. And the house is by a forest. And in this house lives Ted, a man, his cat, as well as Lauren, his daughter. So we follow them and their strange interactions. And then we also follow a girl named Dee, whose little sister went missing one day. And it completely tore up her family, and she's looking for her little sister still. This is a horror book, but as you get to the end, you start to wonder, is it a horror book or is it something quite different? And I really enjoyed it. This is definitely a book that I'd love to reread at some point and go all the way back to the beginning and read it again, knowing what I know now. Another book that does that as well is another horror book, classic, The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This follows a governess who goes to stay at a house and take care of 2 children. They all keep seeing these figures out in the yard, essentially. And it seems like the place is haunted and she wants to protect these kids. And then you get to the end and you're like, what is happening? And there's 2 ways to read this book, and you only know the other way when you get to the end. So good. So good. I know some people don't like that, but I have 2 books here that I wanted to share with you, but I can't find the other one. It's 2 books by the same author, Ian Reid. The first book I want to recommend to you by him is Foe. So Foe follows a couple who live on a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, and they get a knock at the door, and this man walks in with a business proposal for the man. I think his name is Junior, the guy who lives there. And he's like, listen, we need your help with something that's kind of otherworldly, and will you do it? And he just keeps coming back to visit and trying to implore Junior to do this thing. I'm not explaining it very well, but it's about the marriage and the strange interactions that he has with his wife. Something is off. And what Ian Reid does is make it really complicated until the end. And then you're like, what's happening? And you want to go back to the beginning and read it again. So I really enjoyed Foe. It's kind of sci-fi meets horror. The next one, and like his most well-known, I'm thinking of Ending Things. His books are very short as well, which I think lends to what he does, because you're so confused the whole time. In this book, you follow a couple who are driving home. She is going to meet his parents and she should be excited, but she's thinking of ending the whole relationship. While she's driving there, she keeps getting these really weird phone calls, really strange voice messages, and she's getting flashbacks to her past. And it's about what happens on the journey and what all of these phone calls mean. I loved it. Got to the end and was like, oh, I want to reread it again. And there's just certain books that can do that masterfully. And I feel like Ian Reid is the master of that, in my opinion. So those are all of the books that I wanted to share with you that have gripping, amazing endings. Let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite book in terms of endings? What book did you get to the end and just thought, well done? Well done, you. I would love to know, and I will chat with you soon. Bye, guys. All right, with 15,000 subscribers just around the corner, this is your chance to win a $150 Amazon gift card. It's in Canadian because I am Canadian. And I hope that one of you will be able to buy all sorts of lovely books from your wish list with it. Now, in order to win, you need to first be subscribed to this channel, like this video, and also leave a comment in the comments below. After we hit 15,000 subscribers, I am going to pick a random video, randomize the comments, and pick a winner. So the more videos you watch, the more comments you leave, the more chances that you are going to have to win. Good luck to all of my bookish friends out there.